Welcome to Bollywood Movie Recaps. Today I'll be explaining a true-life Indian movie titled Dangal. Namaste, sit tight and enjoy. The year is 1988. A wrestling match from the Seoul Olympics starts to air. A man named Marvi Singh watches closely and is shortly joined by another colleague. Soon their small talk turns into an argument about whether money or skill wins wrestling matches, and they both decide to settle it right there in the office, man to man. But Marvi Singh is the stronger of the two and defeats the man with 3 slick moves. The man then congratulates Marvi Singh, saying he himself is a state champion. Marvi Singh then consoles him, saying he has just got beaten by a former national champion. Later on, as he entertains himself with 2 young boys wrestling, we see Marvi Singh have a flashback to his time as a young wrestler. He was an undisputed champion. In his prime, he defeated several competitors on his way to winning the national championship. However, his dream to go international is cut short by his father, who says there is no future in wrestling and that he cannot make a decent living through the sport. Back in the present, Marvi Singh looks sadly at his honors and national medal in his cabinet. His wife walks in and tries to console him, telling him to forget about the past. She is pregnant and expecting a child soon. Marvi Singh tells her he's going to do everything possible for his unborn son to win an international medal, then he will be truly happy. On the day of his wife's delivery, Marvi Singh waits outside anxiously. After a while, the gender of the baby is revealed to be a girl. Marvi Singh is clearly disappointed as he is expecting his first child to be a boy. Word gets around in the small village quickly, and everyone gives a secret strategy to Marvi Singh and his wife on how to get a male child. On the night of delivery of his second child, the whole town gathers, but again, the gender of the child is revealed to be a girl, disappointing everyone, most of all Marvi Singh. Time flies and the years go by. Marvi Singh and his wife welcome another child into the family. They now have 4 children, all girls. As the family celebrates over the newborn, Marvi Singh looks on, disappointed and indifferent. As he watches them grow up into young girls doing what girls do, he begins to give up on his dreams silently. He even packs his national medal and empties his trophy cabinet along with it. One day on his return from work, his wife tells him of a commotion going on inside. A family have come to complain that their boys have been badly beaten. Marvi Singh slaps his nephew on the head, thinking he is responsible for the act. His wife corrects him, saying it was his daughters, Geeta and Barbita. After the family accepts his apology and leave, Marvi Singh asks his girls to demonstrate how they managed to beat 2 boys on their own. The girls, surprised but relieved, use their cousin Omkar as dummy and demonstrate their skills to their father. As this goes on, Marvi Singh realizes his girls must have inherited his wrestling genes and he can turn them into professional wrestlers and finally reach his dream of winning an international medal. Later that night, he tells his wife of his intentions. He always wanted a boy, but he didn't realize that gold is gold whether won by a male or female. She bugs him with questions if he is sure of his decision, but he ignores all her concerns. As he's preparing and wiping dust off the training gear, his wife begs him not to destroy the girl's life because of his obsession. This time, he makes her a promise to stick to training the girls for a year, and if they fail to turn out as pro wrestlers, he will abandon his dream forever. From then on, he puts the girls through rigorous training and discipline of early morning jogging, sit-ups, push-ups, skipping, and other forms of exercise to condition and prepare them for professional wrestling. He asked the local wrestling gym if he can let his girls train at the facility, but his request is denied. So he proceeds to build his own shelter gym in the center of his farm and trains his girls there. He asks his brother for permission to let his nephew Omkar join the girls, seeing they are not physically strong enough for themselves. After some thought to it, his brother reluctantly agrees. Omkar then joins the girls daily for their morning jogging and fights with them in the mud as well. Marvi Singh notices the girls' lack of strength and know they need protein. He visits the market and manages to strike a bargain with the chicken dealer at a low price. He goes on to prepare the chicken for his daughters and Omkar to build their muscles and give them the needed strength. One night while helping his youngest daughter with homework, Geeta and Barbita approach their father saying the mud gets into their hair while wrestling. They hope this will convince him to stop them from wrestling. He takes their complaint serious and says he will fix it. The next morning he summons a barber to cut their hair despite their tears and complaints. They then become the subject of public ridicule and teasing in school. After this, they plan to sabotage training as revenge on their father. They change the time on the alarm clock, fake injury, and destroy many light bulbs. In training, they are deliberately lazy and put in zero effort, making their father frustrated. One night, they decide to skip training for a wedding ceremony of one of their classmates. While the girls are having fun, suddenly Marvi Singh comes in and gives Omkar a slap on the face, creating a scene and embarrassing the girls. As they reflect on what happened later on that night, the girls think they have a heartless father and say no one deserves a father who cuts his daughter's hair and forces them to fight. The bride at the wedding, who is in the room with them, tells them their father only wants the best for them and that not many fathers will dedicate time to give their daughters a life instead of just making her perform house chores and marry her off at a young age, using herself as an example. The girls are touched by this. The next day, Marvi Singh goes to wake his daughters up, but they are already in the shelter training. They have completely turned the corner and have become 100% dedicated to the sport and to training. Now, they are more disciplined and more focused. Their ability and skill improves each passing day. When Marvi Singh is convinced by their display, he sends them to a wrestling competition in another town, but he gets turned down when he mentions that his wrestlers are girls. They even make fun of him, saying it is not a cooking competition, and he doesn't take that joke lightly. Marvi Singh picks his bag and leaves. However, the organizers, seeing that a female wrestler will attract a larger than usual crowd, change their minds and recall Marvi Singh and his daughters. A large crowd gather and Geeta steps up. She chooses the most bulky among the available wrestlers to fight. She fights well and almost defeats him. But she is unlucky and he makes a comeback and wins the match, disappointing the crowd. She is rewarded specially for her effort, but is unable to sleep after the loss, so she asks her father when is the next match, and this pleases him. In subsequent matches, Geeta will go on to make a name for herself, defeating many well-trained wrestlers and grabbing several awards and accolades. She has become loved by the crowd and feared by many wrestlers across the land. Her younger sister Barbita also has a good display of her own, and soon the trophies are back in Marvi Singh's cabinet and his dream is alive. In order to get more time to train his daughters, he requests for a 2-month leave, which he is denied. Instead, he quits his job entirely and tells his wife he will work on his rice farm to take care of the family. Next, he goes to the sports council in search of funds to buy training equipment for the girls, but is told there is little to no money for women in sports. So he uses the ordinary mattress to train the girls on the rooftop. He gives them lessons on how to earn each point in professional wrestling from 1, 2, 3, and 5. Exhibiting with Omkar, he teaches them the skill moves for each point. Learning from her father's lessons, Geeta goes on to win the sub-junior, junior, and the senior women wrestling in India. She comes home in the midst of jubilation and joy, but her father hangs the medal, reminding them that the goal is to win an international medal. Later that night, Geeta approaches her father and tells him of her intentions to train at the National Sports Academy so she could sharpen her skills, learning new techniques and learn from a new coach. This comes as a shock to Marvi Singh, who was confident in his ability to coach her to the international medal. Nonetheless, he fulfills her wish and takes her to the academy. Over there, they meet a new coach who tells them to forget their old technique and only do as he says, and that will assure them of a medal. Marvi Singh approaches the coach and tries to tell him of Geeta's game style, but he responds in a fit of rage, embarrassing both father and daughter. He tells Marvi Singh that he is in charge now and everything will be done his way. Marvi Singh returns home disturbed. At the academy, Geeta makes new friends and they influence her to watch TV, have fun, eat junk food, party and dance the nights away. In training, she is casual and indisciplined. She even grows her hair and begins to focus more on her appearance than training. At home on holidays, Geeta tells her father all about the training and the facilities at the academy and even proposes to teach her sister new techniques. Hearing this, her father notices her hair and senses she hasn't been up to the mark. He questions her about it, but he brushes it off before she can answer. The next day, Geeta tries to show a group of girls a new skill, but her father comes in and asks that the skill be used on him. When she tries it, he throws her down with a heavy thud. He asks how she will win a medal with a weak technique as this. Geeta is not so pleased with this and challenges her father to a fight. Father and daughter engage in a fight, but soon Marvi Singh runs out of gas and becomes easily tired due to old age and lack of training. Geeta easily throws him down and defeats him. Later on, as Geeta packs and gets ready to leave for their academy, her sister Barbita tries to convince her to make peace with her father, but she claps back and refuses to do so. Soon, she leaves for the academy without saying goodbye to her father. In her first international match, she faces a tough opponent from Australia and loses after just the second round after a poor display. Meanwhile, back home, Barbita wins her senior national medal and soon joins Geeta at the academy. At the academy, Barbita notices her sister's lack of desire and sluggishness and calls her out. However, Geeta snaps back, telling her to mind her own business, and it's just her first international loss. Not long after she loses all her subsequent international matches one by one, her coach enters the locker room one time and tells her she may not be cut out for an international medal. This discourages her and dampens her spirit as they head back to the academy. She confides in her sister, who tells her to believe in herself as she has come a long way from beating muscular boys 2 times her size and winning the national championship. She can't look back at this point. She also encourages her to call their father. On the phone, amidst tears, Geeta apologizes to her father and asks for his help. Few weeks to the major international tournament, the coach makes a decision to cut Geeta's weight from 55 kg to 50 kg as she may have more chance to win in the 50 kg weight class. Marvi Singh is not at all happy with that and immediately arranges to rent a building close by the academy so he can train the girls there and give them the right nutrition for their normal weight class. One morning, as the girls set off to meet their father for training, they get spotted by a teammate who then informs the coach about their wrong. He also finds out she has been taking meals aside that prescribed by the dietitian to keep her weight at 55 kg. Marvi Singh and his daughters are summoned before the council. They want to suspend the girls from the games, but Marvi Singh pleads with them, saying it was all his fault and taking full blame for their actions. The council, however, pardons them but maintains that Marvi Singh shouldn't be seen around the academy, neither should the girls leave on any account. Marvi has no choice but to agree to their conditions. In his mind, he hatches a plan to still communicate with the girls. He buys out a local cinema and watches recorded videos of their training sessions, recorded and received by Omkar, their cousin. Then he makes notes and communicates with the girl through mobile phone. In trial matches, Geeta performs well and is looking good for the competition. The Commonwealth Games begins with a flashy ceremony with fireworks and colorful display. In her first match, she faces an opponent from Wales. She starts poorly with no points in the first round and comes very close to losing the second round and the entire game, but her father shouts encouragement from the stands. This spurs her on the comeback and she wins the match. For her next match, she receives contrasting advice from a coach and from her father about how to approach the game. Her opponent is a highly rated fighter from Nigeria. Using her father's tactics well, she matches her opponent and secures a draw. To split the two, a coin is tossed and the winner gets a favored grip and 30 seconds to score. The toss goes in favor of the Nigerian. Geeta, however, moves smartly and wins the match brilliantly. In the press conference afterwards, Geeta is asked what she attributes her good performance to, and she praises her father. This does not sit down well with her coach. Meanwhile, her father observes her next opponent and co-finalist. On the next night before the final game, Geeta sits with her father outside to discuss the game strategy. He has no strategy. He tells her to draw inspiration from the fact that she will affect the lives of many young women across India for generations to come. On the final day, as Marvi Singh and Omkar walk into the arena, they are approached by a well-dressed man. He greets Marvi Singh and informs him that the sports minister would like to have a word with him before the match. Marvi Singh tries to turn down the offer. It's his daughter's final match and he can't miss it. But the man is insistent. Though unwilling, Marvi Singh agrees. The academy coach watches on as his plot takes form. The well-dressed man then leads Marvi Singh to a storeroom in the basement, locks him inside and walks away with the key. He tries desperately to break the glass window on the door, but it doesn't work. He tries to call someone, but the reception is bad at the basement. Back in the arena, the match begins and Geeta makes a strong start, winning the first round easily. However, her father's absence gets the better of her and she loses the second round badly to a rejuvenated opponent. With the match almost beyond her in the third round, she remembers her father's word in a flashback that he won't be there always to save her. She masters the courage and with the clock ticking, she attempts the outrageous 5-point move and executes it perfectly to win the match right at the death. The arena erupts in celebration and Barbita runs to hug her. The medals are presented to the winners and the Indian national anthem plays in the background. Marvi Singh hears the anthem from the basement and assumes the best. He is joyful and tearing up. Suddenly, a man opens the door and Marvi Singh rushes out to the arena to meet up with his daughters. He sees the gold medal and feels it in his hands and knows that his dream has finally come true. He congratulates his girls and hugs them as the movie comes to an end. Be sure to click the subscribe button, like and share for more videos like this.